up. He is the former talk show host, and he's got a new podcast on par with Maury Povich. So you can check that on at YouTube, everywhere you listen to podcasts. New episodes dropping every Monday as Maury Povich goes back to his journalistic roots, in-depth conversations with the most influential voices, legendary athletes, groundbreaking journalists, cultural icons, and more as we bring in Maury Povich. What do you learn from somebody when you play a round of golf with them?
Well, I'll tell you, I think you learn everything. I think someone's entire personality comes out on the golf course. The good, the bad, the ugly, it is all there. And I think you can judge for yourself whether you want to play with this guy again.
I agree with you. I think if I was interviewing somebody for a job, going out and playing golf, I find out how competitive you are, how honest you are. Are you a storyteller? Are you courteous to others? And those are all things that you have to work in, a working environment.
Yeah, I think, boy, you can tell so much. Every, every demon that you have comes out. every pleasure that you can enjoy comes out. I mean, that's why I love it so much.
Why?
Also, by the way, the other reason why I love it is, I don't know if you know the story, Dan. My father, of course, was the longtime 75-year sports columnist writer for the Washington Post. He was a 14-year-old caddy in Bar Harbor, Maine. That's where he grew up. And he was a caddy, and he was thrown in with this guy when he was like 15 years old. And the guy said, after my father caddied for him, "You're the best caddy. My carriage will pick you up every day at Tebow Valley Golf Club." And after 3 years, he goes to my grandmother, says to my grandmother, "I want to take your son with me to Washington, D.C. I own my own golf course at my house, and I'll also give him a job." And my grandmother reluctantly said yes. My father showed up. The first person he caddied for was President Warren G. Harding, and the guy gave him a job. The guy owned the Washington Post. That was a 75-year experience for my father.
And your dad was a legendary columnist. Here is one of the great journalists of his time. And I'm curious, when he sees his son during doing the Maury Povich show, what does dad think about what his son is doing?
Well, I'll tell you, the first national show that he had to deal with was A Current Affair, this kind of tabloid crazy show that I did. And he said to me, "Well, son, just don't worry about it." And I said, "Well, Tom Shales, the Pulitzer Prize winning television critic at the Washington Post, wrote this terrible story about me, Dad. He used every S word in the world, smarmy, sordid, everything in the world. Please don't show this to Mom today. Don't even look at it." He says, "Well, son, don't worry about it. Just go about your business. It's fine. It's all right." I said, "Yeah, but Dad," he says, I helped to hire Tom Shales at the Washington Post." I said, "Yeah, Dad, but I'm your son." He says, "Yeah, but good writers are hard to find." That was my father.
Did you ever get injured on the Maury Povich show?
No, never. I mean, it's interesting. Everybody kind of compares my show with Jerry Springer's show, and Jerry and I were great friends. And Jerry always made the distinction. I give him full credit. He said, "Maury, here's the difference. You're the real thing, and my show is wrestling." And that's how. And that's how. By the way, I got a story to tell you, Dan, about you. Many years ago, Connie Chung, as you know, my wife, and I were at the Tahoe Celebrity Tournament, and we're out there one time. And this is when you were on Sports Center, and we loved watching you on Sports Center. I don't know who you were with at the time, Steiner or somebody who I can't remember, but we just were enthralled with you. And so we're at the tournament, and I said to Connie at the cocktail hour, I said, "There's Dan." So she goes over and starts talking and starts telling Dan how great you are on Sports Center, and how funny you are and how great you are. And I walk up behind her and I said, Connie, that's Dan Hicks. It's not Dan Patrick. And she says, oh my gosh. I said, no, that's Dan Hicks. And then she turns to me and she says, well, all these white sports guys look alike.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But I'll take those compliments, even if they went through Dan Hicks.
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do remember seeing you and Connie at Tahoe.
Right.
Yes. Oh, yeah. But I've had people think that I was Stuart Scott, which,
Oh,
yeah, try to let that one sink in.
Yeah. Well, everybody always mistook me for Springer all the time on the street. I mean, it's crazy.
Was there ever an episode where you had a hard time doing it or being convinced to do it?
Well, there was a couple of episodes, the same theme that just were astounding. This woman was accusing this guy of being the father of her twins, and I of course, best thing I ever did was I never knew the results of anything. I wanted to be like my guests, my audience. I wanted to be as surprised as anybody. That's why the inflection of "you are the father, you are not the father." I open up this envelope, and this guy is the father of one twin, but not the other. And so I turn around to the staff. I went, what is this? And then I find out that with fraternal twins, and you're a very active young lady, you can have two fathers.
He's Maury Povich. He has a new podcast called On Par with Maury Povich. New episodes drop every Monday. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Who do you want to interview? Give me your wish list.
What I'd really like to interview is, and by the way, an old golf buddy of mine is the 43rd president of the United States, George W. Bush, who I really kind of admire in the way he's conducted himself after his presidency. And so, and he doesn't give many interviews. I would love to interview him. I would also like to interview Shaq and Charles because, do they like each other? Don't they they play this game? I'd love to have them on both. Shaq was always a great fan of the Maury show because he said that he and his buddies used to bet on whether the guy was the father or not.
Did you ever feel sorry for a guest? Like in a situation like that where you're revealing information.
Yeah. Well, I felt sorry for the women who used to come on multiple times, and the audience would boo them, and I always felt that they had a certain amount of courage and bravery for keep coming on to find out who the father of their child was, and so I felt sorry for them every single time it didn't turn out to be the father.
Yeah, because these are life-altering moments.
Absolutely. And and I used to get criticized all the time in the media that I was exploiting this theme and everything. And I always said, if I can get two parents in a child's life, those kids have a better chance. It's just for real. And so that's how I hang my hat.
Could you do your show today the same way you did it, given today's guidelines, parameters?
Yeah, I think so. I could, but I think the show ended at the proper time. And by the way, it hasn't ended. The repeats, I mean, you know about repeats. I mean, the repeats are getting as good ratings as the originals. And so, I mean, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Give me your favorite interview so far that you've had on your podcast.
Well, it's interesting. I've had so many different ones. I'll tell you one I really like. You know who Jeff Pearlman is, the sports writer?
Yes.
The guy who wrote Winning Time?
Yes.
I thought he was fascinating. I think he had a lot of good things to say. Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank.
Yeah.
She's as feisty as they come. I mean, they're great. And then this week is a dear friend of mine, Lewis Black, the great comedian. And Lewis is a friend of mine. This is Lewis. We knew Lewis a little bit, and then my wife gave me a surprise 70th birthday party many years ago, and hires, unbeknownst to me, Lewis to do the entertainment. at my apartment in New York. Black comes on. The first thing he says is, "How far have I fallen?" Broadway and Carnegie Hall and Povich's birthday party.
Well, good luck with the podcast. It's great
Oh,
to connect with you.
thanks.
And give my best to Connie. Tell her that Dan Hicks says hello.
I sure will. Nice to talk to you, Dan.
Bye, bud.
All right, bye.
Maury Povich, You Are Not the Father. It's a podcast called On Par with Maury Povich. I remember seeing Connie and Maury Povich in Tahoe when we were out there for the golf tournament. And I remember that she kept staring at me, and it was weird because I was like, that's Connie Chung. And then now I realized that she knew me from SportsCenter, but she mixed me up with Dan Hicks from NBC Sports. That's fine. You know, who cares? Good story. You know, not an insult. Might be to Hannah Storm, Dan Hicks's wife, who's like, well, don't replay, have a body switch here.